With us once again from Mazars, we have Tiffany and Wendy. I couldn't be happier to have them here. We're going to be talking once again about our favorite topic, diversity. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Good, good. So you're joining us via Skype. Last time we were all three here in the studio together, but times as they are. What would you like to start with? Where do we want to start?
Transparency is the foundation of diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
So, and Tiffany and I live that on a daily basis. Some of the things that we want to talk about is why it is so important to be a transparent leader. So, Tiffany, I'll ask you, why is it so important to be a transparent leader and acknowledge sometimes mistakes or shortcomings?
You know, our people really look to us in terms of having very candid, courageous conversations and really sharing our stories and being transparent with respect to our journey, with respect to our career and where we are today. And it's through those courageous conversations that we really have takeaways and we learn from each other. You know, it's funny, very recently I was having a conversation with a fellow peer partner at another peer firm. She happens to be a woman and she has an amazing story and trajectory of acceleration with respect to her career. But one of the things she said was that she was quite saddened in looking around her company and her firm, because while she did see women that were at the top, albeit not that many, she was very sad because of the lack of camaraderie and sharing and transparency amongst the women themselves. And so women in particular sharing their stories with other women. So here again is an example of the lack of transparency that I think is not only prevalent in our own industry, but within business in general, and particularly amongst women.
From the beginning, you know, I had this Women at Mazars journey. And from the beginning, our consultant said, women don't support each other, you know, which was a huge shock to me. And maybe I didn't notice, but then I started to uptick a little bit in what I was doing. So, for example, when we did one of our first Women at Mazars awareness programs, there was this great idea we all had to tell our stories. And I'll be quite honest, growing up in the profession, we were not encouraged to tell our stories. In fact, we were trained to be, you know, just very even, and the personal stuff stayed out of your everyday. But you know, we charged ourselves to get out of our comfort zones, and we did one of our first awareness programs, and we all told our own story, and it was shocking to me how engaged the audience was, men and women. Mm-hmm. So you know, you have to take the lead either from others, even though you might have been trained in a different way, or quite frankly from your people, because when you start to share with your people and you demonstrate to them that you're supporting other women, it also has a way to help them do the same. So, and it also makes it a less confrontational environment. That's one of the other things I learned earlier. It's everybody together. It's not just the leaders or just the staff trying to push through change. It has to be something that we all do together.
Yeah, it's really helpful too, because Donna, I think what Wendy has shared would really help us overcome some of the stereotypes that we as women may face within business as well. Some people often say that you find less that women help other women. Maybe it's because women tend to be a little more catty, or because there's less room at the top. And by this transparency and the sharing, we really want to obliterate those types of stereotypes, because that's just not true. And sometimes people need a little help telling their story. And sometimes it's cultural as well. Not for everyone is it inherent to always share and to share a journey that's personal. Again, that takes a bit of courage and bravery to have that type of conversation as well. But if we do that more, we can further help all of our professionals, men and women, as Wendy shared.
Some of us were born with a silver spoon in our mouth. Some of us were not born with silver spoons in our mouth. Some of us had opportunities where our college was paid for. Some of us didn't even get to go to college. You know, there's such a disparity, but when you can be authentically yourself and you could talk about your own journey, you know, sometimes there is a lot of bias, and reorganizing your own bias when you're going into a new situation to realize that by the time you get to be a certain age, you've got baggage. We've all got baggage, right? And sometimes we don't even know what's in what we're carrying around, right? By having those open dialogues, we could say, well, hey, you know, and it helps us connect, you know, not like you're going to one up somebody and say, well, you know, you had this happen to you. Well, I got hit by a train, and then a plane landed on me, and then a bird pooped on my head, and then, you know, you're always trying to like, but if you just say, this is what my personal experience is, and I want you to see me for that, I want you to hear me for that, and just understand that, that's where the connection comes in. And what you're doing at Mazars is so, you know, extraordinary. You're doing a great job.
So part of it also is to recognize your mistakes and be very, not vocal and self-destructive about it, but how you learned from some of the mistakes you might have made. Or what is very effective from a leadership perspective is when you get challenged by a younger staff member is to really listen and understand what their challenge is, and then take it on if it's appropriate to say, you know what, you're right, and then take some time to think about it, and then come back and say, so here's what we're going to do as leadership. Here's the plan. We recognize that, you know, up until now this may have been a problem, but here's how we're going to address it. And the part of that that's really important is the listening part, because often I find that leaders think they understand, think they have changed, think they are being transparent and doing all the right things, and sometimes that may not be the case.
Yeah, I agree, Wendy. I think a lot of that is clouded very much by the biases that we carry. And Donna, you touched on that word. It's one thing to know the biases that you carry with you day in and day out, but it's another thing to be aware of the unconscious bias that's within us. And that's what we at Mazars really try to address with our people and with our leadership, so that when we're sitting around the table with each other, what is that unconscious bias that's there? What's hidden that's there that we don't know, that we need to know? We developed an in-house program that teaches our professionals how to identify those biases and therefore how to build better, more inclusive and diverse teams by being aware of that.
Well, once again, I thank you both. And any final closing thoughts, Wendy, before we wrap?
Bring your authentic self to work.
Okay.
Listen to what your teams and your peers say, and it will take you a long way towards leadership, helping, supporting others. And
one thing we all have in common is a birthday. So if you're open to say happy birthday to somebody, it's universal. We all have a birthday. So
I sing, not well, but I do sing.
So happy birthday to us, happy birthday to us, happy birthday to us, happy birthday to us, and to you at home. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Wendy. Happy journeys, ladies. See you soon. Be well.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.